This image is
This image is pure nightmare fuel for Caitlin Clark's haters, because deep down, they know everything just shifted. Here's why. They thought they had her cornered. Caitlin was down, sidelined, and the Fever looked lost without her. They started whispering that Diana Taurasi's reality is coming prophecy was finally coming to life. Sensing weakness, they pounced, throwing shade, taking cheap shots. But then came the Fever's Commissioner's Cup win, and everything flipped. No one saw it coming, especially ESPN, who ended up embarrassing themselves. More on that in a second. This win didn't just shake things up, it changed the game for Caitlin and the Fever in 3 huge ways. I'll break it all down in this video. But one thing's crystal clear. The more Caitlin rises, the harder the storm rages against her and the Fever. And Caitlin's post-game words, just wait, they might become their own prophecy. Let's dive into the moment that sparked it all, the backlash, and what lies ahead. But first, drop a trophy in the comments to celebrate this massive Fever win. So, let's start with the obverse. This is the version of the Fever that fans dreamed about back in preseason. But heading into the Commissioner's Cup finals, hardly anyone thought it was still possible. Early on, the Fever were hyped as title contenders. They landed big-name free agents. Their Now You Know campaign screamed confidence, basically saying, we run this league. Don't like it? Too bad. And of course, they had Caitlin Clark, stronger, sharper, and ready to level up. The season kicked off with fireworks, demolishing the sky in front of 2.7 million viewers. But then the chaos hit. A hate speech investigation, Caitlin's 5-game injury, Dana basically pulling a Peter Gibbons from Office Space, checked out, still cashing checks. Just when things seemed back on track after Caitlin's legendary comeback against the Liberty, we got Gladiator Night at Gainbridge. MMA Mabry and UFC JC took turns targeting Caitlin while the refs stood by like helpful cornermen. Then came the wise twist. Caitlin injured in garbage time against the Storm, sidelined for the Cup final. So yeah, all signs pointed to a Fever loss against the Lynx. So much so, that ESPN managed to deliver one of the biggest accidental self-drags ever, right in the middle of the game.
ESPN posted, I think around the 3rd quarter, at least that's when I was notified about it, that the Lynx dominate the Fever to win the Commissioner's Cup. And I took a screenshot. This is totally my screenshot, so I went and I verified this because I just couldn't believe it.
I double-checked. It's true. ESPN left that headline up the entire game, only fixing it after the final buzzer. Unreal. But here's the wild part. Without Caitlin, the Fever rose to the moment and showed exactly who they are. They fell behind early, then flipped the script with an 18-0 run and never looked back. Everyone stepped up, especially Natasha Howard, who literally said she wanted to be MVP. And guess what? She made it happen. If that's not manifestation, I don't know what is. The Fever basically hit ESPN with a reverse card, storming into Minnesota's house and handling the Lynx without Caitlin even on the floor. And that's when the haters really lost it. Not just because the Fever won, but because Caitlin Clark, despite not playing a single minute, still walked away with a championship.
The only strike against Caitlin Clark is that she has not won a national championship. And that is the only thing that you can put against her.
You see, the one thing haters always clung to, their go-to jab at Caitlin, was that she hadn't won a championship. That's the excuse they used to keep her off ESPN's top 5 college players of all time, even though she shattered records and dragged an average team to the national finals, twice. And yeah, the whole rivalry with Angel Reese, it's tired. They are not even in the same universe when it comes to skill or impact. But the narrative stuck. Angel had a college title and the unrivaled crown. So suddenly she was the real winner, and Caitlin was just hype. That's been the haters' security blanket. And now, this Commissioner's Cup win just yanked it away. But of course, the haters moved the goalposts. Now they are saying it doesn't count. It's not a real championship. And even worse, because Caitlin didn't play in the final game, they claim it's irrelevant. But let's be real, that logic, it falls apart instantly, and here's why.
They did win the final without her. But it's not like she's Nikola Topic or anything. The only reason they got to the final was because she had a 32-point near triple-double against the New York Liberty. They beat the previously undefeated New York Liberty after a Caitlin Clark masterclass in a game no one thought they were going to win.
Caitlin was the reason they even made it to the Commissioner's Cup final. She lit up the Liberty with next-level play, then made a huge impact in that battle against the Sun. Her fingerprints were all over their path to the top, but the award for saltiest tears, that goes to the crowd claiming the game was rigged. Yep, when all else fails, just scream conspiracy.
The real fans, all right? Capitalize the real fans of the W will find out what backroom deal you two made to have the Lynx throw this game. Not even cracking 60 points. That isn't even believable to the most naked eye. When we find out, we're coming for your jobs. Full force.
What's hilarious here is the selective logic on full display. These are the same folks who went all out celebrating Angel Reese's unrivaled championship. Yes, it's a professional title, but it's not even structured like the WNBA. And here's the kicker. Angel didn't just miss the final. She wasn't even in the building. Didn't matter. Fans, media, everyone threw a parade in her name, posted graphics congratulating her, and used it as ammo to tear down Caitlin Clark. Suddenly, Angel had 2 titles, and Caitlin still at 0. But now, when Caitlin plays a huge role in getting the Fever to the finals of an official WNBA in-season tournament, with prize money on the line, it doesn't count. Because she didn't suit up in the final? Oh, and it was rigged too? Yeah, miss us with that. But here's what's got the haters really rattled. The Fever pulled it off on the big stage without Caitlin. They took down the Lynx, the best team in the league at the time with a 14-2 record, and did it right in their house. Okay, sure, it felt like carving off with all the Iowa and Fever fans packing the place, but it was still a road game and a statement win. More importantly, it was proof of concept. The veterans brought in for pressure moments. They delivered when it mattered most. Natasha Howard was an absolute force. Sophie came up clutch. And when you stack that on top of the strong seasons Aliyah and Lexi are having, the pieces are clicking. Are they flawless? Of course not. Can we still grumble about the coaching? Absolutely. We're fans. It's in the job description. But the trajectory, it's looking up. And remember how I said this one shifted everything for the Fever in 3 big ways? Let's break that down.
Caitlin Clark finished 9th in player voting. In fact, she finished behind one of her own teammates in player voting for the All-Star game. The pettiness has no bounds.
First off, this one takes the pressure off the Fever in a big way. You know what they say, winning cures all. And while Sophie recently admitted the team felt like they were stuck on their own little islands, nothing brings a squad together like a title run, even if it's not the big trophy. They didn't just squeak by. They took down the 2 best teams, the Liberty and the Lynx. Perfection moving forward? Probably not. But the swagger? It's officially back. They've weathered the storm. And with Ari McDonald now fully in the mix, this team feels way more dynamic than they ever did with Borna, the gunner second. That new breathing room means Caitlin can actually rest. There's been a lot of buzz, myself included, wondering if the Fever rushed her back early from injury, or even let her start the season hurt. But now, there's no rush. This team has proven it can stay in the playoff hunt without throwing Caitlin back in too soon. Fever fans have been begging for her to sit longer, just to be sure she's fully healed, and after a win like that over the Lynx, it's a lot easier to make that call. We even saw the shift already. Instead of making her a last-minute game-time decision, the team straight up announced a full day early that Caitlin wouldn't play against the Aces. That's a change. And third, when Caitlin does return at 100%, she'll be stepping into a team that's finding its rhythm, winning games, and not putting everything on her shoulders. With Ari McDonald now a permanent fixture, the Fever don't have to burn Caitlin out or risk re-injury by leaning too hard on her too fast. And as a bonus, they're back in the contender conversation, and with cap space to work with, they could even make a trade to level up the roster. All of this, it's nightmare fuel for the haters, because just when they thought the Fever were bleeding, the team show they were far from done.
America loves her, the fans clearly love her, the media likes her, but the players can't stand her. 9th best guard in the league. Don't try to give me the excuses of, well, she's been struggling lately, or she missed some games with injury. Come on, this is insanity, and I think it's an activist vote by the women of the WNBA who simply cannot stand her success. It's so dumb and it's so childish.
They were eating it up. Caitlyn's slump was their favorite storyline, and they didn't hold back. Sure, it was all anonymous, but it was unanimous.
Ourselves to the NBA, but I do feel like the pay gap would be something that, we could just take a donation around the NBA maybe. Maybe one night y'all don't go to the casinos.
I have something on this, though, because it pisses me off. It pisses me off because I don't think there's anyone in America that supports the WNBA more than NBA players.
100%.
Look, people have all kinds of explanations for why the players voted Caitlin Clark as the 9th best guard in the All-Star race. And yeah, I get it. They didn't literally rank her 9th. But no matter how you slice it, when you see how teams throw double teams at her every night, when you dig into the stats, even factoring in the injuries and a few rough games that were probably tied to that injury, it just doesn't add up. This feels less like an honest assessment and more like a hit job. Because let's be real, there is no world where Caitlin Clark is the 9th best guard.
And in talking to a source or two, it appears that Bonner was unable to, in some way, shape, or form, just deal with that spotlight, which is white hot, right?
Yeah.
It is just...
They were sending a message, loud and clear, and for a minute, it looked like they had Caitlin on the ropes. But now, that Commissioner's Cup win changed everything. It bought Caitlin time to rest, gave the Fever a jolt of confidence, and flipped the entire script. And suddenly, the haters are nervous, but it's not because they are scared to play her. That's not it. What they really fear is what happens when Caitlin Clark is at her peak and the Fever start dominating. Because that combo, it commands the spotlight. It breaks viewership records. It brings in waves of new fans. And while that should be a good thing, growth, attention, energy, for reasons that defy logic, there are people in this league who don't want that kind of spotlight. And here's why.
That's the worst part of all this, is the new fans are sucking the life out of the WNBA right now. It's just the truth. You are right. You are right, new fans. There has never been more viewership because of Caitlin Clark. There's never been more attention. They're doing 40 minutes on First Take about Caitlin Clark. They never did that before, as Monica McNutt called out. You're right. But you know what there was in the WNBA last year and the years prior? There was other storylines. There was joy. There was talk of competition. There was talk of what was actually happening on.
Now, this isn't a brand new clip, but it really helps shed light on the mindset behind all of this. The truth is, the NBA has poured hundreds of millions into the WNBA since day one, nearly 30 years without seeing a real return. Without that support, the league likely wouldn't be standing today. Even last year, with Caitlin Clark starting to make waves, the W still posted a staggering $40 million loss. It's like the WNBA is a bike riding on NBA-provided training wheels. No matter how shaky the ride gets, they don't fall, because the NBA won't let them enter Caitlin. She offered the league something they haven't had before, a real shot at ditching those training wheels. But as anyone who's learned to ride a bike knows, removing them comes with bumps and bruises. And in this case, those bruises are coming from casual fans. These aren't people tuning in out of loyalty to women's basketball. They're tuning in to be entertained. And with that comes criticism, hot takes, and a spotlight players aren't always used to. You see it with Angel Reese all the time. Every missed rebound becomes a meme. Now, circling back to that Lisa Leslie clip, it speaks volumes. A lot of players have gotten so used to the league continuing no matter the bottom line that two dangerous things have crept in. First, the hubris that the league is too big to fail. And second, a false sense of entitlement. Because if the W ever does start turning a real profit, logically, that money should go toward paying back the NBA's massive investment. But instead, some players are already demanding raises before the books are even balanced. And now they're even talking about striking, under the assumption that fans, especially the new ones, will come rushing back once it's over. But here's the kicker. Some players seem to believe they can trash Caitlyn and her fan base, then still get everything they want from the surge she helped create. Truth is, I don't think they even want these new fans to stay. They'd rather go back to the old WNBA, the quieter one, with less pressure, fewer eyes, and no expectations to actually deliver.
But it's interesting, for years, the WNBA players were pointing fingers. They were saying people are sexist, the media is sexist, we're not being promoted, we're underappreciated. And then they get the golden goose and they don't like what it looks like. Iowa girl, Indiana girl. Well, who knows, and I've said this for years, when the wave hits, ride it. You don't know what it looks like.
I have a feeling that's exactly what's going on with a lot of players. If it's not the packed arenas throwing them off, it's the wave of online trolls or the non-stop scrutiny that comes with the spotlight. But then, there's this.
Guys, I just know everybody in the league is
There are players, fans, even folks in the media who just can't stand that it's Caitlyn Clark all day, every day. It eats at them. They believe they should be getting that same spotlight. And the issue isn't really that one player is getting all the love, it's who that player is.
Of the year talking about them being a contender for a WNBA championship, and if anything, tonight what I learned is they have what it takes. I mean, they played 5 of their last 6 games on the road coming in here, and if you can win games on the road like they did in an environment like they won in tonight, the sky's really the limit. And this is a team that's starting to get their confidence, they're showing their depth.
All of this builds into one undeniable reality. It's Caitlyn and the Fever versus the entire WNBA. And make no mistake, she feels it. Her teammates feel it. You can hear it in the way they talk, the way they carry themselves. And if you were really listening after that Commissioner's Cup win, you probably caught what Caitlyn let slip.